You don't stay because it's healthy. You stay because it feels unfinished. That's the part nobody says out loud. When an avoidant person and an anxious person fall into each other, it can feel less like a relationship and more like a psychological maze with really good lighting. One of you pulls away, one of you chases, one of you goes quiet, one of you gets louder. And somehow, even when both of you are exhausted, neither of you can fully let go. So if you've ever looked at a relationship and thought, "This is draining me, this is confusing me, this is shrinking me," why does it still feel impossible to leave? You're not weak. You're standing inside a loop that knows exactly how to keep you there. Picture this. You tell yourself you're done. For real this time. You even rehearse the speech in your head while brushing your teeth or staring at the ceiling at 1:14 in the morning. But then they text. Or they soften. Or they go distant in that very specific way that makes your chest drop. And suddenly, your certainty melts. Now you're not thinking about what hurt you. You're thinking about how to get the closeness back. And the emotional cost is brutal. You stop trusting your own read on things. You start measuring tiny shifts in tone like they're stock market crashes. You feel needy for wanting reassurance, then resentful for having to ask. Meanwhile, they feel pressured, cornered, misunderstood, and quietly desperate for space they don't know how to ask for without looking cold. Here's what's really happening. This dynamic often isn't about love being deeper. It's about old survival strategies finding each other and locking hands. What looks like passion can actually be a nervous system pattern. What feels like fate can be familiar pain wearing expensive clothes. Underneath it, the whole thing starts to make terrible, perfect sense. Number 1. You mistake inconsistency for importance. When connection comes in bursts, your brain pays more attention. Not because it's better, but because it's unstable. The anxious partner feels starved, then fed, then starved again. The avoidant partner feels crowded, then relieved, then weirdly pulled back in once distance creates enough safety. It becomes emotionally loud, and loud things feel significant. It's like trying to sleep in a room where the lights keep flickering. You don't relax. You become hyper-aware. So you start believing the intensity means the bond is rare. But here's the reframe. You're not obsessed because this is your soulmate. You're activated because your system keeps getting interrupted. And that's where it gets weird, because the more unpredictable it is, the harder it becomes to walk away. Number 2. You become attached to the hope, not just the person. This is where the fantasy does a lot of heavy lifting. You're not only holding on to who they are, you're holding on to who they almost became that one night they finally opened up. That one weekend everything felt easy. That one vulnerable confession that made you think, "There you are. I knew you were in there." So the relationship turns into a trailer for a movie that never fully comes out. And you keep replaying the best scenes to justify sitting through the confusion. The anxious partner often clings to potential. The avoidant partner often clings to the version of love that doesn't demand too much. Both are half in reality, half in projection. You're not in love with crumbs because you lack standards. You're attached to the meaning you built around them. But here's the part people miss. Hope can feel holy and still keep you stuck. And the next layer goes even deeper. Number 3. Your threat detection systems start dating each other. This dynamic often lives in the body before it lives in language. The anxious partner may read distance as danger. The avoidant partner may read closeness as danger. So even ordinary moments, needing reassurance, needing space, missing a text, asking a direct question, can land like alarms. Not because either of you is dramatic, because your systems are interpreting each other through old maps. Picture 2 smoke detectors facing each other. One goes off. Then the other reacts to that sound. Then the first reacts harder. Soon the whole house is screaming, and there isn't even a fire in the room. Just fear, bouncing off fear. You're not crazy. You're vigilant. They're not heartless. They're defended. But when vigilance meets defense, goodbye becomes hard, because your body starts confusing resolution with loss, and distance with danger. And that sets up the next trap. Number 4. The push-pull cycle creates a chemical hook. When closeness returns after distance, it doesn't just feel nice. It feels euphoric. Relief hits hard. Your brain loves contrast. After anxiety, a tiny bit of reassurance can feel like oxygen after being underwater. After pressure, a little space can feel like freedom. So the reunion becomes the reward. And reward loops are powerful. Not because you're irrational, but because intermittent relief is sticky. It keeps you scanning for the next high point, the next softened look, the next I miss you, the next night where everything feels safe again. It's like being thirsty in a desert and calling the occasional drop of water a miracle. Of course it feels massive. Your system is depleted. You're not addicted to drama. You're bonded to relief. And once relief becomes the prize, even pain starts to feel like part of the ritual. But there's one more reason this bond is so hard to leave, and it cuts right to identity. Number 5. The relationship starts to feel like proof. For the anxious partner, staying can start to mean, if I can just love well enough, maybe I'll finally be chosen without ambiguity. For the avoidant partner, staying can start to mean, if I can be close without disappearing, maybe I'm not as unreachable as I fear. So now the relationship is carrying way too much symbolic weight. It's no longer just about the other person. It's about what winning them, keeping them, or surviving them seems to say about you. That's why leaving can feel like failure. Like admitting the story won't resolve the way you wanted. Like grieving not just the person, but the version of yourself you hoped this relationship would finally repair. You're not holding on because you're incapable of moving on. You're holding on because this bond got tangled up with identity. And once identity gets involved, simple endings stop feeling simple. Here's the beautiful contradiction. The anxious-avoidant bond can look chaotic on the outside, but underneath it is usually 2 people trying to protect something unbearably soft. One protects by reaching, one protects by retreating. One says, "Don't leave me," the other says, "Don't consume me." But both are often asking the same secret question. Am I safe being fully known? That's why this dynamic feels so intense. It isn't built from indifference. It's built from sensitivity wearing opposite disguises. You can be guarded and deeply longing. You can be hard to reach and still love hard. You can crave closeness and still fear what it asks of you. That paradox is what makes this so painful and so magnetic. Still, here's the grounded caution. Not every hard-to-leave relationship is profound. Sometimes a strong pull is just a strong pattern. Sometimes we always find our way back is really just we never learned a different loop. And if this dynamic keeps training you to abandon your peace, mute your needs, or romanticize emotional confusion, that isn't depth. That's erosion dressed up as chemistry. The gentler reframe is this. Understanding the pattern doesn't mean you have to keep living inside it. Awareness is not rejection. It's just the moment you stop calling the maze a home. So maybe this was never about you being too much or them being too little. Maybe it was about two protective systems creating a bond that felt meaningful because it was familiar, intense, and unresolved. Maybe the reason it was hard to split up is because the relationship kept pressing on ancient buttons and calling the reaction love. And maybe healing starts when you stop asking, "Why can't I quit this person?" and start asking, "What part of me feels chosen by this pain?" Because not every connection that shakes you is meant to keep you. Some connections arrive to reveal your pattern, not become your future. Some people feel like destiny, when they're really a mirror. So if this hit close to home, I want to know, team chase or team withdraw? And if you've ever wondered why the second someone pulls away you want them more, the next video is for you. Because that's where we get into why distance can make attraction feel stronger and why your brain can mistake absence for value.